What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another exciting episode of Meet the. And today, I have Meet the PR diva, motivational speaker, author, event coordinator, consultant, all that.
Wow.
Yeah. Miss Sherontelle
Wow.
Dirskell. Am I saying it? Dirskell?
Yes, Dirskell. Yep.
Sherontelle Dirskell. Got a name that rhymes. It's hard to get a name that rhymes.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for taking time out. I know it's crazy. It's crazy. And you're one of those, well, we're going to jump right into the interview. But you're one of those people that have you ever not done your job? meaning that you seem, when we talk, even though we can take a while, me and you can talk out, but you're working. Like usually when is that what PR is? Because some people don't understand what PR is. I, for years, was like, PR people be like, yeah, I can work with just that. I was like, I need booking and I need a manager. It's like, well, I don't do either one of those, but I'll be your PR person and put you out in front. What exactly is PR, public relations? What is that for people that don't know? Let's start like that.
It's where you're the liaison between the media, between the radio, the media publications. You're that person who expands the brand. Like you take the brand and you expand it to possible markets and demographics that maybe you wouldn't have touched without a PR person. So in a nutshell, that's what I think,
No, it's
to
good. It's
break
good.
it down.
So,
Yeah.
because some people, I know the like PR people that do triple duty for their clients, they do end up doing so much. You've been blessed to be a celebrity PR person for a while. I mean, you got some, you work with some, I don't know, say all the clients you work with, but you work with some great name clients. And how long have you been doing PR now?
A little over 10 years.
Right. So,
Yeah.
and so I know people who've been doing PR 20 years, who have been doing, what do you like the most about it?
Well, when I first started, I had got into it in the music entertainment business, just wanted to be a team player. Like I just wanted to be a part of a team. So I didn't yet have a title, but I just wanted to do
What can I
something.
do? Like,
What can I do to help? Right. So that's how it got started. And then when I started my own business and got my first client, he said, "You're going to be my PR." And I didn't even know what that really was. I didn't know what that title entailed. I didn't know what it is that I was going to actually be doing. So I did my research and I literally kind of learned on the job and taught myself because I went to college for science. I was a science major, nothing in PR whatsoever, but I got a lot of books and I had some mentors along the way, and I just learned along the way.
So you're in science. It's like a friend of mine, I interviewed attorney Derek G. Hamlin. He was a chemistry major and his master's was in chemistry. And then he ended up wanting to be an attorney. So what was your degree in?
I was studying biology with a minor in chemistry, pre-medicine. Yeah. I know, right? So that's the
So
background. Yeah.
is that why, because we were talking before and you mentioned that you became an EMT. Is that why you got into that field? Because you kind of like the medical field or helping people? Or
Yes, because one of the doctors suggested that I should go into emergency medicine because you get a taste of all different types and then you can kind of figure out what field of medicine that you want to go into. And I started doing it, but I started to actually enjoying it. So I continued for a very long time, almost 15 years, mostly in the emergency department.
here's what I like about this. And like I said, I try to keep for those of you watching, I try to keep the Meet the interviews pretty generic, but we're just in an amazing dispensation in time in 2020. So this is one of those 2020 interviews, pandemic, uprising. It's just an amazing time in history that we'll be able to look back on, and our kids and our grandkids and be like, we changed the world. I remember
Exactly.
you know. So, but I like the fact that as you're now, you look like we were joking because she has a daughter that's in her 20s. And Sherontelle is youthful and smile and, and she's like, my daughter bigger than me. So I said, I know when y'all out, it's like, hey, how y'all doing? It's like, first off, it's my mom.
Right. And we would go to concerts. I went to concerts. I do not like going to concerts, but I used to go with my daughter, and the guys would be on her, and I would be like, that is my daughter. And they'd be like, all right, mama. Okay. All right. So I'm good. Like, yay. I don't want no problems.
You don't mess with a mother's child.
No,
I say
seriously.
that to say that a lot of times people feel like, I don't know what my direction is. And we hear Gary Vee talking about this a lot. It's kind of, he said it's kind of unfair to ask children, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? Because we get older and we don't know. But it's good to have different experiences in life. And you've taken much opportunity to do the things that kind of your heart leans towards. So doing PR, celebrity PR, you're successful in that. You're doing your thing. It's grueling. For one, you've mentioned that it's grueling. What's the hardest? You said you got in it because you wanted to help people. What's the hardest part of doing public relations?
The hardest part is the time and measure. A lot of times people, when they hire you, they have expectations. And I find that with PR is a very difficult thing to measure. It takes time to build. You can come up with all the strategy and plans that you want to, but you never know how the public is going to respond to whatever it is that you're trying to show them, sell to them, whatever it may be. That just takes time. And that probably is the most difficult thing. And I think to this point in my career, I've chosen people who I literally connect with on a very deep energy level, where both of our intents is whatever that goal is. And it doesn't matter how long it takes. Go ahead, Slim. That's what they call me. Do whatever you have to do. Like with Day One that I'm working with right now, it's kind of like, no, do your thing wherever you need me, whatever time, I'll be there. And it makes it easier for me to be more creative with his portfolio. He's actually
And
done some things.
For those that don't know, Day One, world-renowned producer, been producing for years. I don't even know how old he is, but you see the name. Who are some of the artists that Day One works with?
Snoop Dogg, Kendrick Lamar, Ice Cube, and it goes on and on and on. Some amazing people.
Here on the West Coast, because I know you're in Connecticut, so he's here on the West. So
yes.
how did you two actually connect initially?
Over the years on Instagram, I think that we connected on Instagram through someone else that I had worked with in the past. And I don't know, it just like kind of happens full circle. Like you start to connect with people, and the more and more you work in entertainment, you find that you're more connected than you know. Like it really seems like these people are like unreachable and untouchable. But once you get in, you realize like, oh, they're friends of, oh, really? Hey, like, oh, you work with him? Oh, okay. It's kind of like, when I started working with Focus, his name is Great. So it helped me to move around and work with, certain, caliber of people, so to speak. I didn't go out and seek celebrity. It just happened to happen that way with my first client.
And you're reliable, and you're doing good quality work. So it's not just that. And we talked about some of the negative connotations that come sometimes. Attractive women, they're working with companies. You're seeing these people, and I've learned because I've had phenomenal and continue to have phenomenal women working on my team. Beautiful women, this, that, and other. And people look up and say, oh, they must just be groupies. And you see a sister on the phone and got her little business suit on, and she's like, she's working. For real.
Right.
The people, especially the more successful you see people, if their entourage is just sitting around. Now, not saying, because you look at Jay-Z coming up through Rockefeller back in the day, and all of them had, you know, the baggy gear on and stuff like this and stuff. And you can't tell that Dame Dash is back there in the midst of them.
Yeah.
And he's actually, you know, but, you know, the team you have is so important. And I wanted to touch on, because like I said, it's hard when you're interviewing people that you can talk to for like 2 hours.
Right? No,
but
really, we could really talk all day.
Yeah, all day. So I want to kind of fast forward a bit, then I'll get back to some of the PR stuff. What made you lean into doing more speaking and motivational stuff? And also, some people told you, hey, you need to get out there, because you don't hear that a lot of times with PR people. Some people you see the PR divas taking their pictures, like the one you post, sister would teach you one of the, you know, and that's, you know, but people wanted you to get out there more as a personality. When did the focus shift more to you? And because I know it wasn't intentional for you.
I think that when you do things with good intent, with the right thing, people can see it. Your energy speaks before you even step into the room. So people can know if you're a good person. And when you're a good person and you do things not just for the money, but because you believe in them, you believe in their brand, you believe in what it is that they're doing, they're more willing to be open to say, hey, I got this friend over here, they need your services, or hey, I think that this opportunity would be great for you. That's why it's very important to surround yourself with people who are positive, because positive brings even more positive, because you want to grow. We water each other's gardens. I have something that you may need, and you have something that I may need, and we water each other's garden because we want to see each other grow. And I think that I have kept myself in those kind of circles where we help each other.
Right. And so little by little, you're doing great work. People refer you. And I don't know what the transition was. How did you start? and I mentioned to it, because how did you start? All of a sudden you look up and you're doing Dr. Oz. You're on Dr. Oz and you're talking to, you know, TD Jakes. And how did all that come about?
I think that just came from evolving. I don't even think that I even transitioned into something different. You are who you are. And over time, you don't just get one. I don't believe that we just get one gift. I think we have many gifts. And as we master, as we learn to do great with whatever that gift is, then now you can be creative and do something else. You know, it's just like even with like fitness. Like I have absolutely loved fitness since I was a teenager. And so I would start, you know, running. And then I decided that I want to start kickboxing. So I did that. Okay, now you want to just box. Okay, you learn that. I want to play tennis. So I did private tennis lessons. It's just all about whatever it is that you want to do. That, you know what I mean? Like you just be able to just learn how to live for the experiences. And we are creators. I really believe that. You know, if we could have everything right now, then what would be the point? The point is like the seed, that idea, and then we water it and we make it come to life because we're creators and we have ideas. So that's what I think that happened. It's just that maybe they seen something. You got to be able to talk to people as a PR person. That's all you're doing. You're either talking to people or you're emailing all day long, and you're representing someone else. Someone else is trusting you to speak on their behalf and explain to whoever it is, this is who they are, this is the product that they have, or this is what we're doing right now. You have to be, before they see you, before they see the client. So people watch and maybe someone's seen something, sometimes you're just in the right room at the right time and someone's seen something. But I took a chance on myself and put the pitch out. I never thought that I would have ended up on TV. That was not ever the plan. The plan was always to help other people see their dreams come true and be a part of that whole process. Because, that process can be ugly, but it's also a beautiful thing to see too. And I think that's the beautiful thing about the people that's been following me for so long, is that they literally see me not come from, I don't think we come from absolutely nothing, but I mean on the financial aspect of things, come from nothing and just grow into this woman that I'm every day becoming. I think
Right.
that that's the cool thing about my brand, is that when it was time to put me on TV, I didn't know it was going to be Dr. Oz, but it was just that time, because I had been behind the scenes, and I feel like I did my due diligence, behind the scenes for some time. I've made people a lot of money, and I've done a lot of amazing things. And I think it was just my time.
Right. Right. So you go full circle. Now, what did that do for your business? Even though your personal brand was jumping, did you all of a sudden the phone start ringing off the hook and people want to people want to go towards the business side? Or what was the experience? What did that do for your business?
I felt like with the last show that we were talking about with Bishop Jakes, for that one, it didn't have the phones ringing off of the hook. I really think that when that happens for certain people, that was their time, where it was time for God, or whatever it is that you want to call it, to take them to that next level. I think for me, it was literally to have that conversation. To one, know and understand my worth, and know that I'm worthy of my success. Because for a long time, I hid behind it. I was very afraid of it, and it looked very foreign to me. And I wasn't, not that I wasn't humble. I was almost too humble, to the point where I didn't want to speak about it. Like, I didn't want to talk about, like, on the interviews and say, yes, hi, I'm PR for da, 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 da. And yes, I've been on this show and that show. For a long time, I didn't even tell people I was on TV. Someone had noticed me, and I had started mentioning it. I was like, okay, maybe I should start talking about this. It's like, yeah, you got it. Dr. Oz, we had a conversation, and he was like, he's like, you don't think that I'm afraid when I come out here on the stage? And I'm like, no, I don't. He's like, well, I am. But the difference between me and you is that you're letting it drive you. Like, you're letting fear drive you, and I don't let it drive me. You know what I mean? Like, I take control, and you need to take control of it. So that's when I started, I guess, transitioning and starting to do motivational speaking, to start sharing that I'm afraid too, even though it doesn't look like that when you see me on stage with Dr. Oz, or you see me working with this person or that person. I did all of that through my fear.
I think it's funny, and God has a funny sense of humor. That, and I think that's because I didn't know this about you. I didn't know you were bio major, medical, on that route. I think that also became the connection, because at first I was like, Dr. Oz was just trying to, he was trying to put in his slider. Yeah, I got some scrubs in the back. What I need scrubs for, Dr. No, sorry.
That's so funny.
But I think the medical piece, and also Dr. Oz is a surgeon, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if he's hard. I forgot what kind of surgeon he is. But surgeons and doctors and people like that have to perform things that each time you go in there, someone could die. Like, you get ready and you go in, and it's showtime. It's like, it's way beyond any athlete or any pressure that we could imagine. And you having the background of studying medicine and also showing up, it's a showing up thing. Being an EMT for years, you do something wrong, someone dies on the scene. People are at that point, so it's funny that it's almost like passions. It's funny that you mentioned about the nervousness, the fear that you end up going through, but being able to show up. So, all right. So doing a motivational piece, I know you're working on a book right now. What is it right now that drives you the most outside of clients? Because I know clients are calling you, and you have key clients that you work with on a regular basis. You're always doing some, like I said, some type of work. We talk on weird hours. So you're always doing some kind of work. What really drives you now?
My why. a couple years ago, my heart stopped, and I was in intensive care for a couple weeks. I was in intensive care for 2 weeks, and then I was in the hospital for a while, and I had to recover. So that picture that you see with me, Dr. Oz, and Bishop Jakes, I had literally, I think I had just got out of the hospital then. I had lost, I was down to like 75 pounds, and I had lost a lot of weight. It was like, I always was working. I would work over 75 hours a week. I would probably hardly ever really like take any time to myself. I was going, 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 going. And I had did that for a long time, and it literally caught up with me. I mean, like I would work out 3 or 4 days out of the week. I was working hours, like putting in hours and hours, and just, it was like a train on a track. Eventually it was going to derail because it wasn't going to stop. It was just going, going, going. And that was me. And because of that and being able to survive that, I said that I'm going to make sure that when I make it through this, that I be intentional with every single thing that I do, and making sure that it's no longer just about me, but about making a difference in the world and appreciating my life and having more gratitude. I learned so much from that. And I feel like it gave me the strength now to be able to help people during the pandemic. Because for some people are losing their minds during this time. They don't have that escape of going to the bar or going here or going there. They gotta actually sit and look at themselves, the reflection of them, and actually see their world of what they really wasn't paying attention to because they wasn't there. So I just, I was already in the house for a while before this happened. So I'm able to get through this with grace so I can help someone else. If that makes any sense. Yeah.
So what did they say it was that made your heart stop?
Um, Stress. It was
Say it
stress.
loud.
Yes, it
Some
was
people,
stress.
we're not supposed to, and you're an EMT, so you know this. They say we're
Mm.
not supposed to, we're at a time where we don't, and don't get me wrong, because I love my coffee, but we're at a time where it's almost like we live on adrenaline. We don't rest. We think rest is, I have friends that, literally our slogan became, people, I rest when I'm dead. And it's like, no, actually, if you believe in heaven, you're supposed to be rejoicing when you're supposed to be, whoo, thank you, Lord.
Exactly.
Um, but you're supposed to take rest, and rest is not for some religious purpose. Rest is for us, and
Yeah.
that's the thing that people don't understand. Rest is a good thing. I follow nap ministry on Instagram. I'm trying to learn more about that nap ministry. I want to, you know what I'm saying? They say Einstein took, like, he would take short naps throughout the day and stuff like that. So what it does for our mind and rest. We're in a time of this, with no rest, no sleep, no sleep, and it's killing us. And
It is
and
literally.
and at a time where most people are living longer than ever.
Yeah.
But you talk to old people. Older people get up early in the day. It's like, oh, it's 7 p.m. It's my bedtime. It's like, what? Oh, I'm gonna take a nap later. And I'm still. He's like, you 90 something years old. He's like, yeah, because I started that nap thing. But
Yeah.
to reduce stress, they say stress is the leading cause of disease. And you have a medical background. You know these things. And they say, people try to live on adrenaline, and that puts your heart up, down, heart up, down. I remember one time I was trying to do an all-nighter. Just started the radio station, had transitioned, moved it, and my daughter wasn't with me. So I go home and I say, whenever I wake up, because I do my 4 and 5 hour sleep pattern. So I pop up. So I said, when I pop up, throw my sweats on and go back to the radio station and do some more work, get some more coffee, not thinking how much coffee I had throughout the day, the fact that I was jumping up to it and trying to crush some things so I could pay some extra bills, just figuring out everything. And I felt like fluttering. And I was like, am I having an anxiety attack? And I was like,
Wow.
no. And I was like, let me calm down. And a little bit later, and it didn't just stop. Maybe a couple of days later, it kind of still felt low off. So I went in. Let me tell you how serious it was, and you know this. Went to the emergency room, and some people saw a picture. I had a picture when I was laying on the bed, and I had my thumb up like this. And just tell you how jacked up people are. He was like, I did not know that was you. I'm thinking, oh, he got some nasty picture up on it. I was like, that was my thumb. It was a. So I go in, and it's in the emergency room. It's in Burbank, California. And I go in and I said, hey, my daughter's at school. And I was like, yeah, I went. And the other day I started having some just some fluttering feelings in my chest and this, that, and other. He said, okay, well, fill out your information and how old are you? And I was like, oh, 40, whatever. And he said, okay. I turned around and go to sit down. There's about 8 people in there. I filled it out, turned around, they say, Mr. Rawlings. I said, oh, yes. He was like, come with us. As soon as I got back there, they were opening up my shirt, putting stuff on me, because as a black man in his 40s, saying that my heart was a little, and it was people in there like this in the emergency room. They took me back there so quick, did everything, EKG, X-ray, and it was like, okay, you're fine. And they said, we just have to, when you start talking like that, those are signs of stroke or heart attack.
Yeah.
So, and that you can have a bunch of little ones and not know it. Next thing you know, you somewhere trying to walk up the steps and you end up.
That's true.
Where were you when that happened?
I was like, yeah, no, it's fine. I was here at home. I was sitting on my bed and my son came in. I don't know, it just felt weird. It felt like someone was squeezing my heart, literally, like squeezing it really hard. And he said, can you talk, Mom? Are you okay? And I said, no. And he had to call 911. And I could hear him, giving the address. And I'm like, yes, because I know that time is not on my side. Every minute counts at this point. Like, I know that. Like, I could feel it. And I can hear him giving the address. And I'm like, yes, because he could freak out. Like, I'm his mom. Like, he could have, been, froze or something and couldn't pick up the phone. So he literally saved my life, because had he not made that phone call or walked in the room at that time, I definitely wouldn't be having this conversation, because by the time I got back to the hospital after the ambulance, they gave me something and my heart rate was able to go back down, because it was at 175 and I was resting. Yeah, my heart rate was real crazy fast. But I could feel it though. 2 days prior to, I was talking to my life coach and I was like, I don't know. I'm in New York City. I'm driving. I'm in traffic. And I've been on the East Coast long enough to know that that's what the traffic is like in New York. Like, what are you tripping for? You know what I mean? But I felt overwhelmed. Like, I didn't want to be in traffic anymore. I was done with it already. I was on my way to some show or something. I was doing something. And I'm like, I don't think I could do this. And he was like, okay, well, just call me later on. We could talk about it and figure out what it is. But that call never happened, because I think that morning or something, my heart rate just shot up. It was a terrible feeling, but I felt it coming. I felt it coming. Yeah.
And this is, like you said, this is important for people and I took time for you to do that, because we're at the craziest time in that I can remember. The closest thing to it, I remember in the 90s wearing my Abolish Apartheid button next to my Malcolm X button, and Malcolm X coming out in the movie theater, and me being in high school, all this stuff. I remember all that stuff. But we weren't in South Africa. Dave Chappelle said on one of his specials, 846, that he talked to a friend of his from South Africa and said, with apartheid, with everything going, what really, because it feels like that kind of thing. He said, well, what changed everything is when the world started getting involved, knowing about Mandela, knowing about what was going on, and can't affect the critical mass of it all. When everybody started coming together, when big companies started divesting and stuff, the reason that change is now and it's taking place is because everybody's involved. But on the outside, we have to say to people, and I mentioned this before, watch what your children are doing, because while we're watching the news, they're hearing it on the floor while they're playing. Watch what we're taking in. because we already had enough stress. You know what I'm saying? We already had enough stress. Now I got to come off my job. Now I have to stay home. Okay, it's lifting, go outside, and now there's an uprising. So everybody's probably feeling some of the symptoms you said. I think about how many grown-ass men, they feel something in their chest and, oh, let me just take a nap. And that'd be the last nap.
That'd be the
Next
last
time
one.
God is like, okay, let me see. And then, Charles, come on up here.
Yeah.
You know, so what thing, and you said you've been into fitness, you've studied medical.
But I've been in, I mean, I eat healthy. And this is the thing. I eat healthy, I work out and all of those things. And that still happened because there were issues that I wasn't dealing with. I was just moving and moving. And sometimes we feel like we're being productive if we're being busy. And it's actually the complete opposite, because now I feel like I get more done and I do way less than I used to before that incident happened. But I think that incident happened over time. And that's the thing. Like, how are we spending our days? Like, how are we eating? Are we taking care of our mental health? You know, from me being an EMT for almost 15 years, I've seen a lot of trauma over and over and over and over again. There's a part in my workshop that I talk about the time of death. And I titled it on the slide, title of death, and I have the casket there and everything, because I think I need people to really realize we spend so much time in some weird way worshiping dead people instead of actually being grateful for being alive and having an opportunity for another chance to do this thing called life. You know, I definitely sympathize with what's going on in the world, but I was raised by my grandmother, so I'm always trying to figure out, how am I going to survive and get through this day? You know, but I did that for so long that sometimes I didn't deal with the problems, the pain and all of that, because my grandmother, she came from a different time where it's like, all right, you got to get this, this got to get done. We don't have time to be all in your emotions. Like, I get it, but we got to survive. So wipe those tears and let's go.
Right.
After a while, all of that is going to spill over into something else. And now I make sure that I take my time to meditate, even if I have to do that throughout the day. I had an interview recently and the lady said, well, you do it all the time? Is it certain times? Is it me? When I do interviews, I'm just sharing my experience. This is not a formula of the way. We're all on our own journey. We're all on our own path, and we choose that path. Now, you may hear something that may have worked for me. Take something out of that and try it for yourself and see what works for you. But meditation throughout the day, anything can happen throughout the day. Someone can say something that could have really made me upset, and I need to take a moment and acknowledge what just happened and let it go.
Right.
If I don't do that, can you imagine the person I'm going to be by the end of the day? Like, it's so much happening throughout the day. So,
it takes a lot. I was about to ask you, had you went to therapy? Did anything help you? Had you what kind of techniques you did? Because it's important for people to hear different things and different techniques and different things they can do. Especially, I love helping men and women communicate better in love. But I know at this time, like they say, the divorce rates and the filings and stuff and all this stuff that's going crazy. Because all of a sudden, people who were just passing each other to go to work, take care of the kids, all of a sudden, 3 months, they're like, and no one is thinking, can we go back to the love that brought us together instead of saying every day that I hate this person, I want to leave. We have kids, we have a house, we have this. And some people, they didn't have to deal with it. They could just walk past it. And you made a good point in saying dealing with yourself and finding out. So full circle, your drive, your why is that I got another day.
Yes, exactly.
And that's what the older folks used to say. One day at a time, sweet Jesus, all I'm asking, and I take it one day at a time, this day. And, because there was a point in time in our history that we couldn't, we were on somebody else's clock all the time, and one wrong move and it's,
That's
or
it.
death. So come full circle. We know your why. We know what you're doing. where would you like to be in the next, I won't even say 2 years, because now the way things are moving, the next 12 months, where would you like to see? This time next year, what would you like to be doing in your perfect world?
I would like to see myself doing something where I've evolved. I don't really I have wrote something recently where I said I used to sit with my grandmother and tell her stories about what I want to be and what I want to do when I grow up and all of that stuff. I don't think like that anymore. It's not that it's just day by day, but it is really day by day. Like each day, if I'm doing something to go towards whatever that goal may be, eventually I'm going to hit the target. So I just no longer worry about that stuff. I'm just letting life happen, trying to react with it with love and continue moving forward. That's it. So if I'm doing that, my next year, God willing, it's not going to look like this year. And not to say that this year is bad, because I'm having a conversation with you right now and we're talking and we're alive and we're well. So that right there, I'm just so grateful for that. But if I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing and I'm working towards that, I just want next year to look different. I want each year to look like I've made some progress. I just try to look back to see how far I come
Right.
and just work towards having a better future by doing something every single day to make it so. That's it.
I love it. I love it. All right.
Yeah.
So before we get up out of here, and like
Okay.
I said, this is the shortest combo we've had.
I know, right?
It's like out of here.
It's a record.
Right, right. It's right. No, not yet. It might not be over yet. Just no joke. Okay, so
Okay.
for some artists, creatives, why is it necessary for anybody doing anything with the public to have a PR person, or at least well, there's no way to say it, a PR person, because you definitely need a physical person to take you further. Or why is PR so necessary? And what are the ways people can start preparing to bring? So they may not have the budget to bring somebody on board. Why is PR so necessary? And what are the ways they can really start working towards better public relations?
I think they can start with themselves first. You can be your own PR, like I have been for myself, like really connecting and making relationships with other writers and journalists and bloggers. Start there, start creating a platform of what you want it to look like. And once you get to a certain level in life, then you'll be able to hire on that PR. But I always feel like everything that we need, whatever it is that we're working with, we have inside of us to start it. So I think that we start with what we have. And as we continue on in our journey, those things, the universe, God, he just starts bringing it into our lives. I think sometimes we're too focused on results. We're too
Mm-mm.
focused on numbers and percentages and all of that stuff instead of the process and being creative and enjoying the process and letting whatever's supposed to happen. It's just, it just creates so much, what do you call that? When friction, like something is
Anxiety and
against,
friction,
yeah, all of
frustration.
that, like something is against you, it's almost like you're pushing against something. And this is your creativity. This is you. This is your brand. Love yourself,
Well,
love your brand, and start with what you can. Even if you're sending out, remember I was telling you the other night, like I was doing pitches. And pitches is literally that thing where we have podcasts and stuff now. You can get on there and talk about whatever it is that you're promoting or whatever your brand is. You can get on the podcast and you can pitch yourself. Like you can say, hey, da, 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 and follow up and make the phone call if there's a phone call and email again. And you can do that. Even if you do 2 pitches a day, start with that. Start small. You know what I mean? Start with 2 pitches a day. Before you know it, if you do it 5 days a week, that's 10 pitches. That's 10 people that may not have known you, 10 more bigger demographics that may not have known you that now you can expose yourself to because you put it out there. It may not happen right away. When I started doing my pitches, it took a year before I started actually seeing people respond. Like it's not, people need to stop worrying about time and just do it because this is what you want to do. This is what you're passionate about. This is what you are surrounded. This is your work. This is
Right.
your passion. And like just do that. Like let's not so much worry about the results. I think that is probably the best advice I could give. Because a lot of people want to reach out to PRs and it's like, what can I do if you haven't done anything? Like with your brand, I'm like, I can name a few things that I know, and you've done that
Right.
yourself. You know what I mean? So
Right.
then once you get your PR person, you have already put in that work. But when someone comes to the PR and they don't have absolutely anything, now we're talking about lots of money and a lot of time, and you got to bring in more people because now we got to put something there that hasn't even been born yet.
Right. We got to find out what works for you, make an image, all that stuff, or if your image is the wrong image. Have you ever experienced that where someone has been doing promotion, but you're like, this is not who you should be going after. You should be here. And they be like, oh, well, have you ever experienced that where you had to shift someone's thinking
Oh,
into this is the path you need to go?
you try, but at the end of the day, they're hiring you.
Mm, mm,
So, I
okay.
mean, it definitely isn't you to try to help them see, but you can't make nobody see anything. It's up
Right.
to them or whatever they perceive and whatever they're seeing, whatever it is that they're want. You can present it to them, but you can't make anybody see anything. So it's up to
And
them. It's their
we did,
brand. It's them.
right, right. We didn't talk about this early off, but I'll say this before you get out. Where are you originally from?
Cleveland, Ohio.
All right, you said you had a good experience meeting Steve Harvey, um,
Yes.
and was there any key words you got from him that really helped you as another point of perspective as well?
Um, I think his life has been a testimony for me. I've been following his career for some time, and I just feel like sometimes people don't even have to say anything to you. I've had a lot of mentors in life that I've never even met based upon how they lived their life and what they were able to give back. And I feel like he's given a lot back just by showing that it's possible.
Right.
When you see him and all of it's been so many people that have come out of Cleveland, Ohio that have been very successful. And that to me, let me know a little girl from Cleveland, Ohio with a dream can actually live her dream. Because when you're in a certain environment, somehow good or bad, you find yourself adapting. I adapted and adjusted that is what life was going to be. Cleveland. I used to watch, the ball drop in the Times Square on TV, but I never actually thought that I could be there. I thought it was just something that I would see on TV, the Thanksgiving Day parades and all of those things. But then when I started to get out and experience, and that's why I live for the experience of life, because I realized that once I was exposed and once I was able to have these conversations and be in rooms with people who are worth hundreds of millions of dollars, I knew I can have that too then. Like there are people, they got 24 hours just like me. Now I just
Yeah,
got to
yeah,
put the plan in motion and make it happen. So
yeah.
I want to be what Steve Harvey has been to me and so many others. I want to be that to the people, the young people, and any age really, that it is possible.
Sherontelle Dirskell. You know,
Yeah,
like taking
yeah.
a little bit. We'll probably do a part two of this soon because I know you got much stuff coming up. But how can
Yes,
people
I
get in touch
do.
with
Well, I have a website. It's Sherontelle Dirskell. Should I spell it out?
you? Okay.
It's
Well, the
oh
information will
god,
be
it's so
below in
long.
the information as well. So
Okay, so it's SherontellDirskell.com. I'm on LinkedIn, Sherontelle Dirskell. I'm on Instagram at Sherontelle and the initial D, and on Facebook as well. Everything is my government name, so I'm very easy to contact. And
that's
Twitter
great.
too. Yeah, Twitter too. Twitter is Sherontelle D as well.
Yeah, you gotta give LinkedIn some. I think that's how we met, LinkedIn. So
LinkedIn, yeah.
yeah.
I'm
So
active on all of them. It's crazy. That can take a lot of time too.
it has social media and no, it's probably made things easier and busier having
It
so
may,
many different platforms.
it does. It makes it easier to connect. But I always found that once I got on the plane and connected in a physical sense, it made it even better. Like
Mm.
social media is definitely a great asset. I'll say that, an asset, but it's definitely not the end all.
Got to get out there.
It is not the end all. You still got to get out there. So I know this pandemic and all of that, that's crazy, right? But I think this is a good time to connect because there's so many people that's online now. So
All
network,
right.
network, network.
So, folks, this is the great time to get some PR packages. Holler at your girl. Yeah, something. Thank you, Sherontelle. We will
Thank you
connect
so
soon.
much.
Sherontelle Dirskell, PR Diva, Miss Slim, whatever you want to call it. We're glad you're here too, sister. We're glad you're here and you persevered and you're prospering and all that great stuff. So we'll talk to you in a bit.
Thank you so much. Have a good one.
All right, you too.